and welcome back to GFF and Friends, the podcast for the finer things in life.
Oh.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, GFF Friend, aka Todd, and joining me, as always, is my teeny tiny adorable husband, Rob. Hi,
Hello.
Rob.
Hi.
How's it going?
Doing okay. How are you?
I'm pretty good because it's episode 52. We made it a year. We did 1 year of episodes.
I keep doing that. It should
You're
have been
never gonna get. Yeah, you're never gonna get the sound effects.
Still, hey, I tried.
You tried. Wait, what is D?
The rim shot.
Whoa! All right. What kind of podcast? How much is this podcast costing me? I was trying to find the joke. I was like, wait, which joke? Anyway, it's episode 52.
Yeah.
1 year of podcast episodes. That's crazy.
That's crazy. And it's not 52 episodes for me per se, but definitely congratulations, babe.
Thank you. It's been a lot of work.
Very proud of you.
Thanks. It's nice to just accomplish something. And it's been a treat to hear everybody's what's their orders. I guess what their orders are is how you would say that. And finding new people and getting new opinions. And it's just been fun all around. So here's to 52 more.
Yeah.
Also, right off the top, we should acknowledge the fires in Los Angeles. Our families are safe. Everybody is okay. Got very close there. Got very scary.
I mean, it's not over, but
it's not over
now,
yet.
Yeah.
Today we're recording on Sunday, which is what, the 12th? Yeah.
Yes.
And so there still are fires about, and we still have friends and loved ones that are very close to them, but our immediate family's houses are safe, but we did have a bunch of friends that lost everything, and it's just tragic. And so our hearts are going out to everyone down there that's going through this and everyone affected by these fires. It's just craziness.
There are people, especially in the Altadena area. Although, I mean, even the Palisades, one of Todd's old workplaces is gone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway,
our hearts are going out to you guys, and we hope everybody's getting through it. And just going to have to take it one day at a time now.
Yeah.
But what else is new?
Huh.
I mean, so this is airing on Wednesday. Hopefully we will have a decision on if TikTok is getting banned or not. It's sounding like it's going to be.
Yeah, which is frustrating. Bummer. Seriously, it's Reb for the Rebrand, who's a character that or a account that became famous on TikTok for reading court reports in a dramatic way. She's super funny and she's really insightful, and she had a really interesting kind of statement about what TikTok is that makes it different from everything else. And she's like, every platform has an algorithm, but literally all you have to do is kind of look at the response that you see on some other platforms, and you immediately see how the feed just kind of blasts it to everybody, including people who really have no interest in what you have to say. Because I know we've gotten particularly heinous comments on some platforms versus others. And so, it's just the thought of losing TikTok is such a bummer, because it's given me so many interesting little things in my life that I normally probably wouldn't have found.
Yeah.
And
me too. I mean, we sit next to each other on the sofa and watch TikTok together for hours sometimes. Yeah. And we will just text each other videos back and forth across the sofa all night. And it's just become a really fun thing about our relationship. But also, we've learned so many things. We've been influenced to purchase so many things. We've experimented with recipes and traveling and restaurants. I don't know. And every day I feel and we're back. Sorry, had to do a little edit because the ad came on the YouTube fireplace. Anyway, I feel every day I watch TikTok and I learn something new. Even if it's just a weird historical fact or a scientific fact, I feel it's been the most educational platform. Also, I have completely given up on mainstream media. I'm never going to watch the news again. I'm never going to support news networks and stations and stuff like that. And so that's been how I've been getting my news, from trusted people that fact check and are good, And so now I'm bummed that, because I don't know if I'm going to get any news on Instagram. I'm not going to watch people's homemade news programs on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing about TikTok too was it was in the moment.
Well, and it's really frustrating, just kind of, even the reasoning for it to be going is really frustrating, because we have privacy nightmares across all sorts of American-owned platforms where you are the data. Hey, if the platform's free, chances are you are the data, you are the business.
Yeah.
Heads up. And so there's a lot of those that are operating very freely in America. And like, I'm pretty sure some of those platforms that like people my parents' age are giving them a lot more information and data and influence than they should have.
Yeah.
Than TikTok has ever had. And so it's very frustrating because it feels more like TikTok is connecting like-minded individuals rather than having necessarily an agenda to control a particular population like some other platforms may have. And like, seriously, with there, I guess I'll take off my tinfoil hat potentially. but yeah, it's very frustrating to lose something, because seriously, as somebody who is strictly a watcher on TikTok, I've given it almost nothing aside from like, it knows what I like and it knows what I don't like and it knows what I block. And I think I've purchased 2 things on the TikTok shop at this point. So it has, I guess, and maybe, payment info twice. Yeah.
Meanwhile, it is my job. Yeah. And so TikTok gets banned on Sunday and I'm unemployed, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So it's dumb. And like, not to be a conspiracy theorist and be like, it's all about the money. But if they're saying like they want to get rid of this app because they don't want China monitoring our data, China could just either directly or by hiring someone else to get it, could just go to Facebook and say, hey, I would like to buy your data. And they'll be like, okay, here it is. Like, the data, you can get data for a check. So I think it's all just like money and lobbying, and it's just all bullshit. But like, I feel like a lot of stuff in the world would make a lot more sense if they just told us the truth.
Yeah.
And it's on a personal basis and on a global basis, just say, you don't want this platform taking your money away from Mark Zuckerberg, so he's going to shut it down so he can get paid now. Like, just say that. We know that's what's happening, because trying to use us as excuses of saying like national security and stuff, that's not true, because they can get all that data from anywhere else. So yeah, it's frustrating. I hear that like it's definitely going to, if the Supreme Court upholds the ban, it's definitely going to go away on Sunday, but then the next day is the inauguration, and the next asshole can like reverse it. So who knows? It may go away for 24 hours.
I mean, it would be something that at least would have people saying his name in a favorable way for a minute.
Yeah, which has never happened.
Which would be a short-term thing that, like, I mean, hey.
And I won't say it.
It's same thing as like he made a big deal about putting his name on the stimulus checks, and you know what? It worked for a lot of people. A lot of people really thought that was like specifically a thing that he did, and no, he delayed it so he could get his name on them. Yeah. So yeah, you waited longer, but like for those that it moved the needle, they really assigned a sense of ownership to that, and so there's at least a silver lining there, I guess, maybe.
On a positive note, talking about the next guy, I have not heard his voice since before the election. So it is doable and possible and very easy. I've maybe heard one word come out of his voice, and I instantly scroll, I instantly mute, I instantly change whatever I'm doing, so I don't have to hear his voice. So it is possible. I have not heard that man speak since October.
Yeah, I really don't think I have either, to be honest.
Yeah. It's doable if you just try.
Yeah. It works if you work it in that way. But no, I'm trying to think what else has happened. I mean, I guess on a personal note, I finished my first book of the year, reading, not writing.
I was like, you wrote a book?
No, I should clarify. It is weird to know that I have multiple friends who have written multiple books. Like, it's wild. And I will probably never write a book. I don't think I have one in me.
Hey, never say never.
I don't think I have one in me. I really don't.
You can figure it out. If someone threw a check at you, you could do anything.
I guess, but I like reading them. Yeah. Like, that's better.
Which I think is like 99% of people that read books.
I'd rather read books and say to myself, man, I would have a great story in me. And I'm sure I do, but like, it's not worth wringing it out. The juice ain't worth the squeeze on that one. And plus, knowing the world, it may be amazing and no one would ever read it. But just because, not everything gets published. Not everything finds an audience.
Well, and it would be so physically small that it would be hard for people to hold.
Oh, shut up. You know me. I'm wordy as hell. It would be massive. It would be huge. It would be too much book.
That's true. The funny thing is I also finished a book, but the difference is you started your book this year and finished it at the same time. I started my book a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I finally finished it.
I was joking around calling it the 14-month book because honestly, you were you were like at a steady clip, like you were tearing through this book, and all of a sudden it was just you hit a wall and stopped.
And it sat on our end table next to the sofa for 14 months.
Which is funny because like it is the most accessible thing to you. It is like the table.
Yeah,
and it was
right where I sit every night.
It was there for over a year. It just sat there, and of course I kept reading The Spine over and over and over. Which of course. Like, are we allowed to talk about what book it was specifically?
Yeah. Because, it's called The House in the Cerulean Sea.
Which because there's a handful of words I cannot read correctly. I just can't. And honestly, I don't know if I even can fully identify what shade of blue that is. So I never really...
It's this microphone cover.
Okay, so I've never fully... I would think I'd call it like a royal or a cobalt.
It's a little more turquoise than this, but it's pretty much this.
But yeah, so like I wouldn't fully know, and so I have a hard time identifying that word, and I always... say it wrong in my head and or out loud. So yeah.
Well, see, not to pile on that you're a bad gay, but it's a major pivotal part of Devil Wears Prada. So.
I know, which is a movie I never cared for that much, but I have started to enjoy it more with time and
with me.
Via you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I finished House in the Cerulean Sea, which was a delight, and I loved it. And I've already purchased the sequel, but it did take me 14 months to finish it because I was just in a hardcore reading slump. I have Legos to build, movies to watch, TV shows to watch, podcasts to listen to, podcasts to record, content to record. I just had so many other things to do besides read, and I just couldn't get into it. But now it's January, which is like my favorite reading month, and I'm already on track to just crush it this year.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because
Well, what book did you finish?
Well, I mean, it's like just going back, it's because I keep a list on an app on my phone called Clear of all the stuff I'm up to. And among them are the books that I've been finishing. And I looked, and in 2023, I finished 40 books. However, many of them, I'm going to go ahead and say 70% of them, maybe more, were Junji Ito manga
graphic novel manga, yeah.
And so I tear through those pretty quickly. And then last year though I finished 25 books, and I'd say probably 70 to 80% of them were full on words, just words, lots of words.
You read a lot of Stephen King.
A lot of Stephen King last year. And so
not Wes Craven.
Clive Barker. A lot of Clive Barker. And yeah, so this year I read a book that was big on TikTok for the last couple of years. It's been all over my feed, and I've kind of bookmarked it every time I've seen it because it's got a really, really cool looking cover.
What was it called? I forget.
These Things Between Us by Gus Moreno. And it's got a really, really great cover. And,
is that a translation?
No, he's from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
If anything, the main character of the book is a guy who identifies as Mexican, but he does not speak Spanish, and that's
just like you.
It was kind of a cultural barrier for him at times, and so it's funny. There was a lot of it feels like as a I guess I'm not first generation, but as for me, second generation, kind of Latin American in America who just kind of doesn't know my culture that well.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to read some of that. And yeah, and it was interesting, but for me, started really strong, fell apart toward the end, kind of bummed me out because I really was into it for a minute. But good. It was an enjoyable read. I'm not sorry I read it.
Yeah.
And on to the next one, which I think I want to put it out there because I keep deciding to read it and then just then calling it off. But I think I'm finally gonna do 100 Years of Solitude now.
Oh yeah, because we want to watch that show.
Yeah. So
show or movie?
Show. It's miniseries, but it's 2 seasons, I believe. But the second season has not come out yet.
Yeah.
But,
And then I am already 20% of the way into the new Chuck Palahniuk book, which I cannot think of the name right now.
Shock Induction.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I mean,
at least I think that's the name.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite authors, and he definitely has a very distinctive writing style sometimes. But I'm able to comprehend it, so I'm enjoying it so far. It's pretty cool.
He's very digestible, if anything.
Also, he writes, I don't want to say short books, but you can tear through them pretty fast, which is the Claire Keegan books that I have. I read the one that's the Oprah Book Club book, and then I have the other one that I just got at Barnes & Noble, Stories of Men and Women. I forget what it's called though.
Narrows it down.
Yeah, but she writes a good 100-page story, and they're very little, so I like that. We've talked about it before. I don't read on Kindle. I cannot do it because I need a sense of accomplishment while I'm reading, or else I feel like it's a waste. I love the stories. I love ingesting the stories, but I also need a sense of look how many pages I read.
And I love the percentage meter on a Kindle, and I love the 8 minutes left in this chapter.
Yeah.
Kind of thing when it knows your reading speed.
I heard the percentage thing is pretty fun.
Is good.
Is just as addictive as like finishing pages. But.
Oh yeah, no, like that, and some of them actually do give you page numbers. You just can't physically see it, so it'll be like page 15 of 579, and then later as you're page 300 of 579, you're like, ooh, I know what I've done.
Yeah.
But my original Kindle had a keyboard element on it because it was like the second generation, I guess, and that one on your main like library underneath the name of the book, it had a little progress bar that would like fill up all the way once you finished it.
Yeah.
So like you could at least look at your library at a glance and just sort of see which books you'd either started or hadn't started yet or had finished. But yeah, like I've learned how to enjoy the progress on a Kindle. But also I love a book, like all the Stephen King stuff I've been reading physically.
Yeah.
But I do love a digital book.
Well, I think I said it before. My TBR is currently like 25 books tall. Like I just kept buying books this Christmas and getting books as gifts and after Christmas sales and getting things that like were on my list that nobody bought me. So I was like, well, I'll clear it out. I'll buy it up. So yeah, I've got the entire Wizard of Oz collection.
Well, and that's one that, yeah, like if you want to get one, get the whole thing so at least they match.
Yeah.
Like that is the thing. Like when the set's done, just buy the entire set.
Also, I never realized the entire Wizard of Oz collection by Frank L. Baum, at least, is what, 15 books, 16 books?
Yeah, what you bought was 15.
Yeah, and they do like 3 books per book, like compilations. So
yeah,
but yeah, that's hard to find. Like a compilation of all of the Wizard of Oz books in one box set. I thought that would be everywhere, and it's not. It's really hard to find. I had to get it on Amazon, which I feel bad because I hate Amazon.
Well, I almost feel like it's the same kind of issue probably with Alice in Wonderland / Through the Looking Glass to a degree, just because there's quite a few in that. I'm not sure.
There?
At least there's at least 2. Like there might be more. I feel like it might be a thing where there might be some stuff that gets cut out, but I'm not sure. Not my world, not my genre that I know specifically.
Not your circus, not your monkeys.
Exactly.
And I also just realized too, like other things that are happening globally. I feel like we always just like talk about what media we're taking in, but
it's easier than talking about what's happening in the world all the time.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like the inauguration is coming up, and it's just like, ugh.
And like because I know that we try not to get super political, so I'm trying to not walk into that.
Girl, it's happening.
I know.
Talk about it.
But it's just making me so sad.
I know. It's making me so sad but the one thing I keep thinking about is that especially like Jimmy Carter passed away recently, and so they do a lot of retrospectives and stuff, and I think about how quickly time passes, and time does pass, and people do die, thankfully. So like I know the next 4 years feels like it's kind of the end of times and it's going to be super long, but like bad people have been in office for the entirety of this country, and things are going to change. And think about where we were 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We were still in LA. It was the pandemic. Like so much can change and time does pass. So like we'll get through these 4 years one way or another. It might be in Canada, but we'll get through them.
That's a very sweet way of looking at it, and it is helpful. And for additional context, because this is a funny thing, and I don't know if we've mentioned it on the podcast or not, and if so, apologies, but even then, who knows? You probably forgot too. We, a couple years ago, recently watched Magic Mike XXL.
Which is the second one?
The second one.
Yeah.
And like personally, I didn't care that much for the first movie. It needed to be way sluttier and way less drama with a more likable cast in that first movie. But your mileage may vary. And then the second movie, and then we saw the third movie,
which was terrible.
Which was absolutely joyless.
It
was incredible how just not fun that movie was. It was DOA. It was just completely lifeless. And so then later we decided to watch Magic Mike XXL, and I think it was just because we'd heard it was way better. Mm-hmm. And we watched it, and that movie is honestly one of the most joyful 2 hours I think we have had in our living room, like that I can think of in a while. And it was so crazy. It was crazy. The whole movie just has this sort of optimism that we felt we hadn't seen on screen in a long time. And we looked at what year it came out, and I think it was either 2015 or 2016 before the election. So clearly it had been produced before election results of 2016. Yeah. And so it was one of those things and I didn't realize how much like the tonal shift of like art, and I mean, and that wasn't like yes, it is art. It was mass produced, blockbuster attempt art, in a sense, but like still everything kind of just tinged, like just how things change, like based on stuff like that. And so I keep hoping that we'll find our way back into Magic Mike XXL territory, because seriously, like
that's a cute way to look at it.
Like it was a shock to be taken back to a time when I felt that hopeful. Yeah. And maybe it's naive.
Well, the crazy thing too, the weird thing is that, like, I know a decade is a long time, and yet 2015 seems like it just happened, but it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird why my brain is aging like this, and I'm assuming this happens to everyone, but like, I don't know, like when I was a kid in the 80s, it felt like the 70s were so long ago, especially in the 90s. Like when I was a teenager in the 90s, it felt like the 70s were 1,000 years ago. But now I'm like, 20 years ago, I was about to move to Los Angeles, and I feel like I just did that. Like, it's so weird.
Well, it's that scary thing of like, you know, when Back to the Future came out, based on when Marty went back in time. If Back to the Future came out today, it would be 30 years in the past. So it would be 1994. What?
Yeah.
Like, and so, yeah, like, and so as much as like I saw Back to the Future in the 90s, and the 50s felt like this just Donna Reed fantasy that was just
so
like
far away.
You know, even when my mom told me about it, I was like, wow, that's crazy. You know, it's just like not a thing. That's not real.
You know what it felt like? As much as the future feels so far away, of like flying cars and jetpacks and stuff like that, that's how far back the 1950s felt.
Yeah.
Like they felt so far away in either direction.
But seriously, can you imagine? Like the 1950s felt old. Someone born in the 40s, that's what we are to people if you think about it through the Back to the Future lens. And so yeah, it's of course like it is crazy to whenever like on TikTok people refer to elder millennials as like especially old, but like it is kind of like crazy to think that, you know, the 80s are kind of coming back in vogue, or I guess we're into like the aughts now that are coming back into fashion, right?
Well,
the early
I saw a TikTok yesterday of a bartender doing a thing. She's like taking it's all like it's under music, like you can't hear their voices, but you can read her lips, and she's like, oh sorry, you have to be 21 to drink beer, and the guy hands his ID back and he goes, I was born in 2004, and then she just like has this like slow zoom into her face,
hello dark,
of
the
like,
smiled friend,
of like, wow, 2004 was 21 years ago. Like that's so weird.
I still have a hard time, like, and the phrase I always say, and it's true just as someone who's born in the 80s, you know, I'm always amazed that people born in the 90s are walking and talking. Like, you know, like that's what still blows my mind is like, oh, people who are born in the 90s are like potty trained.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact that like people born in 2004 are drinking age now.
Yeah. Well, and I'm at the place where like, I feel like I'm, you know, late 30s, early 40s. Like I'm 44, but I feel like I'm almost age appropriate feeling wise. Like my body, you know, my knees hurt, my back hurts. It's a little harder to get up in the morning. Like I feel like I'm pretty much my age, but visually I will see people and be like, wow, that guy's older than me for sure. And then he's 31 years old. And I'm like, what is happening? Like young people are starting to age to a place where I'm like, oh, they're older than me. And in my head, I'm like, they're 52 for sure, and it's like, nope, they're in their 30s. They're younger than you.
But no, we are the generation that forgot to grow up, like visually, just the way we dress. I mean, hell, I'm wearing a freaking Bart Simpson hoodie.
A child women's, or
no, it's not women's. I think it might be a youth large.
It's a youth extra large, I think, or something.
Yeah,
but I think it was from the girls section or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's we still. I mean, I collect Legos now.
Yeah, so
pretty hardcore.
Yeah, we are the generation that forgot to grow up, so there is that. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think we've talked about this before. Just as someone who is short, I've always had the relationship of everyone taller than me is older than me. And like that actually,
I can see that.
And it's fine. And like that it's always worked for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, it really does work in your favor.
I remember that feeling when I was a kid.
Yeah. And it's a feeling that kind of never really goes away. Unfortunately, like, and I hate that it kind of plays into that, but you do tend to see tall people as authority figures. And I think a lot of people recognize that in a very passive way. And so it's very strange to suddenly find yourself older than people who are towering over you.
Well,
and I don't see that as in a threatening way at all. It's just one of those things of just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, no, I'm just a small person.
Along those lines, I've always preferred all of my friends and people I surround myself with to be older because I was the baby. I have 2 older brothers. I was the baby, but I just do well in a situation where everyone's older than me. I've always liked like older people. I've always enjoyed being friends with older people, dating older people. Like, you were the first person younger than me that I ever dated, which is weird.
And even then, we're really close in age.
Really close in age, but also you're way older on the inside.
You thought I was lying about my age, and you thought I was older.
Yeah, I thought you were like 5 years older than me.
So no, and I get that because I've always dated people older than me, and like, even when I was in college, most of my friends, like when I was 20, 21, most of my friends were 28 to 30 and had normal jobs. And I met them at a job that I worked at in a retail environment, and we hung out outside of work.
That's why it's so hard to make friends now as an adult in a new city, because everyone that's my age or older
pretty settled
is like us and just wants to stay in all the time. We don't go out. There's not like really like social spaces for us to make new friends. We usually already go to those places with established friends, you know? So like, it's just weird. And then I am making friends with people that are younger than us, and I love them, but still they're on a 30-year-old's journey, and I'm 44, and we're just in different places.
The 30-year-old's journey is a very different journey than what we are doing.
I remember my 30-year-old journey, like partying a lot, going out, socializing, traveling, like all that stuff. And now we just don't do that anymore. Well, and I don't even want to do it.
And it's funny because like so back in the day in Los Angeles, I was part of a gay intramural bowling league. And like there was, that was actually one of the few year-round sports that they did. But they did like, kickball, dodgeball, stuff I was never going to do. And other sports, I'm assuming, as well. But bowling was where it was at for me, because I love to bowl. And I recently went bowling with some coworkers, and I had such a good time. And I'm so inconsistent about how I perform, but I'm just having a good time. And so like I love bowling. And I was actually really curious about if like Seattle had like a gay intramural bowling league. And I did find like a gay intramural league thing, but they do non-bowling sports, and I don't remember what they were.
Kickball, probably.
And there was some other stuff, and I was like, oh, that's not a thing I would do.
They're too physical.
Yeah, it was like it almost would be like, and like the gay rugby team sounds hot and all, but like
too physical and too aggressive.
Right? Seriously, I'm not trying to like mess up my ears here.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I was like, I'm really bummed. But also, even then, like, it's.
You were brought into it from friends.
That's the thing. I joined a team of people that like I knew 2/3 of my team, or 2 of my 3 team members already, and we were really good friends.
Yeah.
And so it was really fun because like some of them were single, so I got to watch them be flirty, and like we got to meet a whole bunch of people. But like at least I was in a team that I already knew, and so it would be awesome to be in a situation like that. But like I don't think there is anything like that here. But if anyone knows anything like that,
if you're in the Seattle area,
let me know.
A gay bowling league. Well, and that's the thing too, is like I keep getting, and please keep inviting me because I love it and I do want to go, but I keep getting invited. We keep getting invited to like Sunday afternoon parties at gay bars and stuff like that, which I love, like a beer bust, a good old fashioned afternoon beer drinking day of meeting people. But then like those places, I don't know, they always kind of make me nervous too. So and I'm not drinking right now. I do not want to go to a bar if I'm not drinking. I just don't. Like if I'm not drinking, I'm not going there. It's like, I don't know, going to the beach and not getting in the water. I'm not going to do it. What's the point? So,
meanwhile, you just described me going to the beach.
Well,
but,
that's because you're afraid of the ocean. Yeah. Because you're little.
When the water's always so cold.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, I don't know. It's just making friends as a 44-year-old, and aging and absorbing the world is just weird now.
Yeah. Well, and even then, like, and I feel bad because whenever we go out, like, whenever we're with friends, and like, I am planning out my evening to where I have kind of just enough gas in the tank to get through stuff. And the bummer is usually as soon as I'm like running on empty, that's when the phrase, should we just have one more round, comes out. And it comes out hopeful out of you, and it lands on me like a ton of bricks. And so it's one of those things. Yeah.
Leave.
And so then, I hold you to the original plan, and now I'm a villain.
Well, and I'm always going to want one more. Like, that's just my personality, especially if we're all laughing and having a good time. I'm like, should we do one more drink?
And I'm always like,
and everybody's like, no, let's leave.
Yeah, I'm always like, let's leave us wanting more. But
also, I need to be like more comfortable going out without you, because I know that like I like to go out. You don't like to go out. It's fine. We're adults. Like, we've been together forever. It's not like I need to worry about anything. Like, I can go out without you. That's fine. But also, I enjoy you, if you can believe it. I enjoy being around you.
I don't buy it.
It is fun to go out with you.
That I really don't buy, but but thank you.
I should say the first hour of going out with you is fun.
There you go. See, like, honestly, it should be a thing of like, one more round? No. Cool. Take the car. I'll see you at home.
Yeah.
You know, although, oh man, Lyft is like $80 for anything at this point.
It is really ridiculous that, like, if we want to take a Lyft or an Uber from our house to like Capitol Hill, it is round trip. It's going to be $100.
Yeah, it feels like it's 40 pre-tip.
And it's like, yeah, I know that's way cheaper than a DUI, but you know what's cheaper than all of it? Staying home.
Right, enjoying the rent, which is already expensive.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those things of like, hey, we got movies to watch.
And books to read, and Legos to build, and closets to clean, which is what I did yesterday.
Seriously, but like, yeah, you've been Lego man.
Yeah, going pretty ham. Just because it makes me happy and I don't have to think about it. And I've been ingesting a bunch of docuseries on Netflix, murder shows and crime shows. And yeah, it's been really nice getting my documentary fix on.
And I apparently have been hibernating. Yesterday, I powered down completely against my will and ended up sleeping for about 14 hours.
Yeah, I have the ability to take a disco nap. Like, I can sleep hardcore for 20 minutes and then go. I'm very much a disco napper. But meanwhile, Rob is just a nap into sleep person.
Once sleep gets its clutches on me, it will not let go.
And he is like an old-timey cartoon because he'll be like, I'm just going to rest my eyes for a second, and then it's 9 a.m. the next day.
Yeah.
And he's impossible to wake up. Like, I woke up from we kind of both fell asleep in different rooms last night at the same time. And I woke up 20 minutes later at like 8:40 or 9:45. I went into the living room to wake him up, and I was like, do you want to watch Shogun, which is what we were doing? And he was like, or I was like, do you want to keep sleeping? And he was like, sleeping. And so I just put a blanket on him and shut the lights off, and I came downstairs to watch TikToks.
Yeah. And then I woke up at some point. I came downstairs and came into bed and plugged my phone in. And then I slept until 10, 11.
You love falling asleep on the sofa, and I've stopped trying to wake you up. And the best is...
It's just so comfy. Well, yeah.
The best is, like, I will go to bed and I'll lay in bed watching TikTok till like 2 a.m, but then I'll finally go to sleep, and then I'll wake up, roll over. You're still not there, but I can hear like Ruby running around and you guys are going for your walk. And so it's getting to the point now where I'm like, did you even come downstairs at all? And you're like, yeah, I came down at 6:30 and then I left at 8:30.
Well, it's like,
okay.
I don't, yeah, I mean, sometimes I just pass. Oh, and like Ruby I always joke around that Ruby gasses you. If she falls asleep next to you, you will be asleep next to her probably within the next 20 to 30 minutes.
In sleepy puppy pheromones.
Yeah, she will gas you. You are out.
Yeah.
And last night I inverted her and had her laying on my chest, and she fully passed out.
Yeah,
and then I fully passed out. And so the two of us were, I imagine, very cute. And I woke up and she was gone.
See, and this is what I say to you all the time. I want you to sleep in my loving arms, and you say, no, get away from me.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, see how enjoyable it is to have somebody sleep in your loving arms?
Dogs are different.
That's what
you should have Ruby sleep in your loving arms. It's great.
When Rob
recommendation.
When Rob does make it to the bedroom to go to sleep together at night, my favorite thing is like, good night, I love you. Would you like to sleep in my loving arms? AKA cuddling. And he always just says no. Don't you?
Yeah. Well, but the problem is when I come to bed, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Well, don't blame me, because the universe made you little and fuzzy and quite warm for some reason.
But also very tired.
So all I ever want to do is cuddle you like a teddy bear, and you never let me do it.
Well, I'm short in many ways, including tempered.
But I'm never going to stop asking if you want to sleep in my loving arms.
All right, well, prepare for the same answer. Because I'm also, if anything, consistent.
You are. Oh, speaking of consistency, I think it's time to move on to our final segment, which is What's Your Order? What's Your Order? Okay, New Year.
Are we going to have to change the name of this segment?
No, because I already wrote the theme song.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Makes sense. It went diamond in Japan.
We don't want to deal with publishing stuff.
Yeah,
I get it.
Like, I can't redo all this.
Yeah.
But we are redoing What's Your Order because we have simply run out of restaurants, and we've pretty much run out of foods at this point.
We've done it all.
We've talked about everything. I do want to start a separate podcast called Breakfast where we just talk about breakfast, but when it comes down to breakfast, we already did that segment. So we thought of new things to put in the What's Your Order box. And instead of telling you like what they might be, we're just going to draw one each week and talk about it. So
be prepared for anything.
Yeah. Welcome to the reboot of What's Your Order. I think we did like 12. So Rob, pick today's What's Your Order. Got a Julia Roberts you.
Okay.
Today's What's Your Order is
favorite TV show.
Oh, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this. There's a couple other things. We were like, how specific do we want to separate TV shows?
Or how many do we want to allow as an answer?
Right. And we just decided on, spoiler alert, in the box, there will be favorite cartoon. So cartoons and TV shows are separate categories. But if your favorite TV show is a cartoon, go ahead and say it as well. So I think you should go first.
No, actually, you should go because I'm trying to just like rack my mind to sort of see if I want to have any other options because I forgot that was also an option.
Okay.
So,
well, favorite TV show is, it's like asking God to pick his favorite human. There's just too many.
Yeah.
And God doesn't exist, and that's a stupid anecdote. Is it anecdote? No, stupid analogy. But yeah, so I would have to say though, formative. It's so hard.
I can go first if you want to think now. Actually, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, if you're ready, then
I'm ready. Like I was trying to think and see if I wanted to outsmart myself or something. Nope, it's The Simpsons. It's The Simpsons. Say, we all know. It just is.
You're literally wearing a Bart Simpsons hoodie,
right? Oh shit! I forgot. No, it is a show that seriously, it's in my bones. I was never really a big fan of the Tracy Ullman shorts, but I was really, really, really young when those happened, and also they just kind of didn't have the same.
I mean, it was a different. Right, they were like sketches.
They were The Simpsons.
The animation was terrible.
But yeah, they weren't. They didn't have the same motivation as The Simpsons as the show.
Yeah.
And so yeah, grew up with the show. Literally, it was the show that my parents let me stay up late to watch because my bedtime was 8 at the time, and so 8:30 was allowed on I guess Thursdays.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like The Simpsons have just been a thing, and honestly, they've introduced me to so much stuff that at the time, they were like a greatest hits for a lot of pop culture for a lot of kids. So like for example, one of my favorite movies, which will likely encounter in a later, What's Your Order? Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert!
It's The Graduate. But like I'd seen that parodied in Wayne's World 2, The Simpsons. I'd seen it parodied in a whole bunch of ways, and then I finally saw the actual source, and I was like, "Oh, that's what that's from." Mm-hmm. And so The Simpsons actually, if anything, were I think kind of a comedy shorthand in a lot of ways, where even if you didn't get to know the original, you got a pretty good knockoff of it, and it was enough to kind of get you in on the conversation.
Yeah,
made you always seem smarter than you were a little bit, or just a little bit more informed. And so yeah, like The Simpsons is one of those shows that just kind of continues to pay off, and even a bad episode of The Simpsons is still better than a good episode of other stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, like even in new seasons as their voices are eroding, like I'm still enjoying the jokes. But yeah. That's it. The Simpsons.
Just The Simpsons.
Seriously, it keeps being listed as one of the top TV shows of all time ever just for historical significance.
Yeah.
But never mind that. It's a good show and it's funny.
So yeah, mine is just, it's kind of all over the place. I can't just name one, but I will say like formative years, baseline everything, I guess would have to start at Sesame Street because I was very much a Muppet kid. I mean, my mom called me a Muppet because I have Muppet arms. Like Bert and Ernie are a big part of my life. Grover, we had a lot of Grover. I was Cookie Monster for 2 years and for Halloween for 2 years. So
I was like, story time.
Muppets, especially Sesame Street Muppets, are like the baseline of everything that I am. So I have to say Sesame Street, but then I think when it comes to my like adult humor, personality, Seinfeld is probably my favorite sitcom ever. Like it's the one I quote the most. It's the one I've binged the most. It's the one I reference the most. I now quote Simpsons the most because of you.
Wow.
We quote Simpsons to each other all day long.
Thank you for catching up on that.
Yeah. I mean, I already knew some of it and I was already like a fan of a lot of it, but not to the extent that you are and that we are now as a couple. But yeah, Simpsons is definitely big, but I think that's because of you. I mean, it is because of you. Thinking of The Simpsons makes me think of you, and that makes me happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like, we watched Simpsons for a long time. We watched Simpsons every night when we ate dinner. And so like, yeah, it's just a lot of good memories associated with Simpsons with us and our family. So Simpsons is up there. But then like for the longest time, my dream was Saturday Night Live. Like that was my goal in life. First to perform on it, and then to write for it. And so Saturday Night Live was a big developmental force in my life, which unfortunately never ended up happening for me, which is fine. But yeah, SNL, big deal. And then another one is Unsolved Mysteries, which terrified me, but that like fun terrified, where almost like, oh God, I can't even describe like, you know, sometimes when you like pick at your fingernail and it hurts, but it also feels good, or like you're picking at your gums and like it hurts your gums, but it also feels good. It's that kind of like, I liked watching Unsolved Mysteries, and I still do. I binge it all the time, but I like watching Unsolved Mysteries as like, I'm scared, but also I want to watch this. So yeah, Unsolved Mysteries is one I watch a lot.
Well, it's almost like your nephews that love the idea of Pennywise and like being afraid of him, but also will never watch the movie.
And it is so
like,
funny
they don't
because
want to. Like they like the character, and they like the fact that they know they're afraid of him. It's very strange, and they're giddy about it.
Yeah,
like it's real weird.
Kids don't. I feel like, at least the kids in my life, kids don't really make fun of kids for being like scaredy cats or anything anymore. Not like when we were growing up in the 80s. And so it's funny. My nephews will just flat out be like, "Oh, I'm not watching that. That's too scary for me." And I'm like, "You're so funny. Like, you're not even trying to like put on airs of
fake
masculinity or anything."
Yeah,
you're
like,
just like, no,
I've seen that.
That shit's crazy. And like, they're so funny. But yeah, my nephews would watch the It trailer. Just the trailer over and over and over again and scare themselves, but they refuse to watch the movies, and that is just so adorable to me.
Honestly, it shows knowing oneself.
Right?
Like that's actually that's kind of nice.
Yeah, they're like, no, I don't have to fake it.
I know my
I'm not doing that.
We're good.
It's like my youngest nephew Luke is little, and he's going to stay, little. He's probably never going to clear like 5'8", if that.
So little.
I
will be looking up to him.
But he is heavily into hockey and soccer and baseball. Like, he's a mega sports boy. Like, he loves sports, but he's little, and he's so much shorter than all of his like teammates and stuff, and he just owns it. It's kind of like Rob owns it. He's like, yeah, I'm short, whatever. I can't do that, I'm too short. Like, he just owns it. That's who he is. He doesn't put on any airs, and it's so adorable.
Well, good. Well, and honestly, it's one of those where, as long as you're short, as long as you can, hold up and on your own and do things well.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think those are my TV shows. Obviously, I'm forgetting a million more. Like, I am kind of a bad gay when it comes to Golden Girls. I love Golden Girls, but I'm not like, I don't really quote it. I don't have like super memorable episodes. You know how some gays are like, I put Golden Girls on and I watch 4 episodes every night before I go to sleep. That's not me at all. I got none of that.
Yeah, I
I used to put it on when I was like studying and stuff, but I didn't really pay attention.
Well, and it's funny because like I also I love Matt Groening's other shows as well. Like, Disenchantment has been great.
It's really cute.
But Futurama, episode for episode, probably a stronger show than The Simpsons, to be honest. Like, it's a highly curated, very smart show.
Really thought out.
Yeah, like Futurama is the show that really does pay off if you really look at it. It's insanely smart. But The Simpsons is just, it's such a trailblazer, and it has just it's lasted the test of time. And like, it's given us so many hundreds of characters that are awesome. Like, there's just so much there. So,
I guess the last TV show would be reality TV, which is Drag Race.
Yeah.
That's probably our number one reality show.
Yeah.
It used to be Top Chef, but I know they're still making it, but we haven't watched any of the new Top Chefs since Padma left.
And like formative TV shows for me, it's like, I honestly, like, growing up, my dream job was to be a game show host. And it was mostly because of Ray Combs when he was the host of Family Feud. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I like Family Feud, but it's not like my favorite game show at all. But Ray Combs, for some reason, was like, he was a small man, and you could tell. And I think I realized at the time that I sort of saw myself in that role a little bit. And but also, like, what was it? I think it was Alex Trebek hosting Concentration, and Chuck Woolery.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, right, asshole. But when he hosted Scrabble. And like, so I actually really, really, really loved those shows as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think I always saw myself hosting those growing up. Mm-hmm. And so game shows have always been a big part of it. And then, of course, like, just as an adult, Jeopardy! It's kind of the king of game shows for a reason. It's so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those.
If I'm going to watch a game show, it'll be Jeopardy!
Right. It's a show where, yes, there's an element of chance, but at least skill really does, and knowledge really should drive success.
Yeah.
And that I think is actually really rewarding to see, and it's very frustrating if you don't know the stuff. I get it. Like as a kid, Jeopardy drove me crazy for a while.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, as an adult, I'm like, Jeopardy honestly is...
It's so hard for me to watch without Alex Trebek though.
I know. And that honestly, he really was such a...
He was Jeopardy.
Yeah. And it is a bummer. Like I like Ken as a host. I think he's fun.
Yeah.
And I like Mayim Bialik as well. Like I don't mind her as a host of that show. But Alex was such a special talent for that show.
Yeah. I love Ken, but he has one of those lisps that just cuts through my brain and makes me freak out. I hate it so much. But yeah, so what was I going to... Oh, the last destination television growing up was Entertainment Tonight. I had to watch Entertainment Tonight every day because, I was pop culture obsessed, still am. But growing up in the 80s and 90s, especially if you didn't have cable, the only access besides People Magazine we had to like celebrities outside of the industry while they're not like on a movie set was Entertainment Tonight. I loved Entertainment.
I never watched Entertainment Tonight or Access Hollywood. I never watched any of those, but like I didn't realize though, growing up when my sister was a teen, she always had the E Network on. And so, like, I didn't realize we were basically getting the same stuff, but like, and it's
we didn't have cable.
The only thing I remember being on E though was Jerry Springer, which it's funny because we're watching stuff at Jerry Springer right now.
Yeah.
And Talk Soup, back when it was hosted by Greg Kinnear.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know what was on E back in the formative years.
It was a lot of fashion stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very much. I almost want to say it was kind of like pre-Bravo. Kind of like level of, I want to say, haughty entertainment at times. But like, I want to say they were one of the few networks that played old episodes of like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous early on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I worked for them and look how that turned out. But all right. Well, those were our TV show picks. And Rex, obviously, we recommend watching all those shows. If you haven't, go back and watch every single Simpsons episode, and we'll see you in 2 years. And go back and watch all of Seinfeld. It all holds up. It's so funny. And and
you can ponder to yourself and think about how like Seinfeld would completely not work if any of them had cell phones.
Right, Seinfeld would not work today for a myriad of reasons, but. The invention of phones and the internet is probably number one on that list.
Well, I imagine, text messaging honestly would have probably eliminated most of Frasier's episodes, but they probably had 2 episodes about like autocorrect mishaps, and the rest of it would have been completely moot because they would have solved all their communication problems.
I'd say it would just be the internet and I did not watch the Frasier reboot, and I don't plan on anytime soon. But I feel like it would probably be a podcast, not a radio show, and everyone would write in their questions via email or text message. No one would call, and that was every episode.
Right. Well, and that was a huge thing. Was they always got like these guest voices.
Patti LuPone. She was one of the voices.
I was like, was it always Patti LuPone? But no, like it was her once.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But well, speaking of TV, let's go watch some TV.
Okay.
We've got so much to watch.
We need to watch Shogun since I fell asleep yesterday and never woke up.
We need to watch a couple episodes of Shogun. We've got Untucked to watch.
Which I hear is very, very meaty this week.
We've got Pit Stop to watch on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. With Georges punching ghosts.
Let's go get some samurais and some lip sync assassins.
We're going to Samurai and Sashay away.
Yeah. But all right, well, thank you guys for listening and for watching on YouTube. Good luck out there. Stay strong. Hopefully, when you're hearing this, when this goes up on Wednesday, we will still have TikTok, but hopefully by then we'll know what's happening with TikTok and the world. And stay strong out there. Stay safe. We love you. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. All right. Goodbye.